And now,
Hire Away with Collins Harlan.
Welcome to Hire Away. Hire Away, a show where we talk about jobs, we talk about business, but importantly, we talk to the people that are running those businesses and doing those jobs. People with real skin in the game. I'm Collins Harlan. I am a staffing specialist for Labor Finders. And in St. Louis, we have two branches. We have one in North County and we have one in South County. But we have branches all over the country. So if you're looking for workers, if you're hiring, all you have to do is go to laborfinders.com. That's laborfinders.com. You find the branch nearest you, call us up and we'll help you out. All right, now, today on the show, we have one of our own. I love this guy. His name is Bryan Slembrouck, or as I like to call him, the Wizard of Vallejo. He's our branch manager in Vallejo, California. And you're probably asking yourself, why would you call him the Wizard of Vallejo? Well, let's talk to Bryan and find out. Let's do this.
Hire Away.
So Bryan, Mr. Wizard, welcome and thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, Collins, thank you for having me, man. This is great.
People are wondering why I call you Mr. Wizard, and we'll get to that. But I want to, you're with Labor Finders now, of course, right?
Yes.
So let's go back a little farther. I want people to get to know who you are, right? So when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I had the plan to be either a pet store owner or Jacques Cousteau. I wanted everything I could do with fish. If I could get into the ocean and do something in the ocean as a career, that was my plan.
That's an interesting, a pet store owner or Jacques Cousteau. I guess it's ambitious either way, but what did you do to pursue that goal?
Well, I ended up attending the University of California, Santa Barbara. I studied marine biology, and I spent an awful lot of time in the water trying to, I don't know, become one with the ocean, maybe. Is that a little too hippy-dippy? I don't know, but yeah, that was my original goal.
I see. Okay, so we know that you did not become a pet store owner, and your name is Bryan Slembrouck. So what made you get out of that whole field? Why did you leave the field?
Well, I think I went into it a little bit as a dreamer. I thought I'd just become a professor and study amazing things and discover new life possibly. What ended up happening is around the third year of college, I realized that my teaching assistants who were making $12 an hour, they had PhDs. It wasn't Ted, it was Dr. Ted. And I got a little disillusioned. There wasn't a lot of opportunity to research and teach in the field that I was interested in. Most of the opportunity was working for companies where they would hire marine biologists to do impact surveys so that the company could proceed with whatever their project was. Not that I ever heard that it was bad or, the biologists there would be required to falsify data, but it was kind of the concern that you'd lose your job if you didn't say it's okay to drill oil here. Those aren't important species. We'll just kill them all.
So it didn't align with your values. It doesn't sound like.
Didn't quite work out, but definitely an interesting field to study.
So what led you to Labor Finders?
I ended up in Labor Finders after following a pretty long career in management. I started off managing sporting goods stores. Like to think I help people get out and have fun. I moved on to managing and working on the sales training side of a smaller mattress company, about 7-8 stores in the Bay Area here in California. And like to think that I help people get a little bit better sleep so they'd be healthier to get out and have some fun. And had the opportunity to meet with Amit, our CEO, and interviewed with him for a position at Labor Finders and realized I'd be able to put literally thousands of people to work, helping them earn some money so they could buy a better mattress and get a nice set of golf clubs for a new fishing pole and get out and have some fun. So
you're all about helping people, and this role did align with your values. So we're glad to have you for sure.
Yeah, no, this works out really well for
You're
me.
really good at what you do. But so employment laws, they've gotten more complicated. But I would say in your part of the country, California, and even in like Illinois and other states, I would say probably some of the most restrictive employment laws in the whole country. Would you agree?
I would agree. I'd say not just restrictive, Collins, but they're also extremely difficult to implement correctly.
I see.
And a lot of that goes to the heart of understanding the law. It's a company like ours, you and I, we are employment specialists. We understand. We know the critical importance of understanding employment law. My customers are manufacturing facilities. They are construction companies. They are event setup companies, even companies that are business offices where we service them in janitorial positions or hiring administrative assistants or managers for those companies. A lot of them, their focus is their business. They're building houses. They are shipping goods across the country. Their focus isn't what is the correct way to implement this new, more restrictive law. And so that's where we come in. That's where our expertise comes in.
Well, right, because obviously compliance, if you're not in compliance, there's pretty strict penalties.
Very, very expensive. In California, we have two things going for us here. We've got penalties imposed by the state. And we also have something relatively new to us. We call it the PAGA. I wrote it down because I got little notes down here at the bottom of my page. Private Attorneys General Act. But a couple of years ago, this passed, and it allowed anybody to form a class for a class action lawsuit, which got concerning for a lot of employers. There's a lot of companies out there where any employee who feels they've been mistreated by their company for any reason can form a class and start a class action lawsuit. You no longer need to sue for it. You no longer need to get permission from a judge or a magistrate to form a class. Anybody can do it. Find a lawyer anywhere and start your PAGA lawsuit.
If I was a business owner, I would be shaking in my boots.
Many business owners in California have paid many millions of dollars to settle these lawsuits since the law changed. It's extremely expensive. It's ridiculously time consuming. On our end of it, it's also a little bit of an opportunity. One of the ways we've found to really understand the law is to pay attention to the other businesses in our area or throughout the state. Whoever gets sued first sets the example. Legally, the lawyers call it the precedent. For us, it's like I don't want to name drop, but there's some large big box retail stores that tend to get sued a lot. When they get sued, the law becomes clear. So there's huge drawbacks for employers out there, but for a company like ours to better understand the law, that's what we pay attention to, and then we can relate that information to our customers.
Well, let's actually get into some of these laws, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I have a long list, but let's talk about some of the main ones, the big ones, like minimum wage. You have a lot to say about, because in my state, it's just a state minimum wage, but it's not that simple in California, is it?
No, in California, we have a state minimum wage. We have individual cities with minimum wage. For example, in the Bay Area, cities that I service have 32 separate minimum wages.
That's incredible.
We have different minimum wages by industry. Fast food workers have their own minimum wage. Healthcare workers have their own minimum wage. Hotel employees in certain positions within hotels have their own minimum wage. And some of those different industries vary by city as well. So if you were my customer, Collins, and you said, hey, I want to send 17 people to a hotel in San Francisco, you need to be very careful. Or you give me a call and I find out the appropriate minimum wage for the position at that hotel in that city, and I set you up so you're in compliance. You
That's
fall out of
interesting.
compliance, you have both state and local fines.
It's a double whammy. Yeah.
It's hard to go right.
Well, do you have now? Let's say an out-of-state client contacts you and wants to do a job. Are they subject to California law as well?
They are a lot of out-of-state clients will bring their own employees, and there's not a lot of monitoring of out-of-state employees
Gotcha.
working in California and then leaving the state. So what happens is the employers come in and they need to offset that workforce. They need to double it up. It's extremely expensive to pay per diems and travel costs for all of your employees to come to another state. When you get to California, we're pretty expensive here. So our hotel costs are higher, our gas cost is higher, everything's a little bit more expensive. Food costs more in California, even though we grow most of it here. They offset by working with a company like ours, a staffing company, or sometimes they partner with contractors. There's other companies out there that do things a little differently than we do. But when they partner with us, we're able to help them comply with all of the state laws. The big fear for a customer from outside of the state is that they make an extremely costly mistake with their own employees and they get reported. If one of their employees from any other state with completely different rules for employment were to call the Department of Labor in California and make a complaint, the Department of Labor in California will find you.
Even if
they'll
you're
go to
left the
Texas.
state. Yeah.
They'll go find you in Missouri, Colin.
They're not going to find me, Bryan, and they're not
Yeah,
going to get me alive. So,
So, but yeah, working with a local company to help you navigate these laws is part of what we're all about for our out-of-state customers.
so it goes beyond something as simple, although it's not simple in California, meaning minimum wage.
Yeah.
We're talking OT laws. We're talking meal breaks, even background checks, drug checks. And that's not the end of my list, but kind of can you talk about some of those like OT laws and meal breaks,
So,
background checks?
yeah, in California, we pay overtime daily and weekly. We have a 40-hour work week with anything over 40 hours generating 1.5 times the normal pay. But we also have a daily overtime. Anything over 8 hours is 1.5. Anything over 12 hours in a day is double time. And if you work 7 days in a row, anything over 8 hours on the seventh day is double time.
This is really starting to sound complex to me. And if I owned a business, it would be driving me nuts.
One neat thing about our system, Labor Finders has proprietary software. When I add my employees to your job in my system, the overtime's automatically calculated. So a little bit easier for us.
It'll calculate it even though there's, like you mentioned, 3 different categories of overtime. It calculates all of those.
All of those.
Oh, that's good.
Sends it back to our customers on separate lines on an invoice. It's explained well throughout the process by our system, and it's deadly accurate. We don't have issues with paying appropriately for the work that our employees complete.
It's fantastic. What about meal breaks? How does that structured in your state? I see you smiling, but
yeah, meal breaks was the hot ticket for a long time, and there's always been a California meal and rest break law. But and I spoke earlier about the PAGA lawsuits, when it became very simple to start a class action, the first violation that the lawyers found in California that was easy to go after was meal breaks. We used to say, I work 5 hours, take a lunch. Now we say it is mandatory that you take a 30-minute unpaid meal break before the 5th hour of employment. If you work more than 10 hours, you have to take a second 30-minute unpaid meal break before the 10th hour.
Again,
unless, oh,
I was
you
confusing.
want
But
me
go
to
ahead. No,
keep
no.
going?
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Unless we sign a California meal and rest break waiver, and then you have to take your meal break by the 5th hour if you work a 6-hour shift or more. And you have to take your meal break by the 10th hour if you work a 12-hour shift or more. The complications here, we don't count the meal break as compensable time. So we're subtracting a half an hour from the daily total. I think it's funny. I chuckle every time I talk to you that your guys might work from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and call it an 8-hour shift, but that's 7.5 hours for us in California.
Right.
The Dolly Parton song never made sense to me. It's 9 to 5:30. I don't.
Can you sing it, Bryan?
I can, but I don't think I will for the entire world to watch here.
So basically what you're saying is if you work in California, sit down, shut up, and eat your tuna sandwich, or you'll get in trouble.
Yeah, well, the immediate fine for this is to require that the employer pay the employee an extra hour of regular pay for every meal that is missed, short, or late. So imagine a 10-hour shift without 2 meal breaks costs you, the employer, 12 hours.
I don't know what to say.
Now, if you pay that, you're okay.
Sure.
But if you don't pay that, then your employees have the opportunity to sue for those extra hours, as well as fines from the state, as well as settlement costs, which it's hard to show personal damages, but they essentially get to do it. So you can have something that would have cost you an extra $20 or $30, but you didn't follow the law when you made the mistake and pay the extra $20 or $30 to your employee. And now it costs you that $20 or $30 plus the $2,000 or $3,000 fine, plus the lawsuit, which I don't know how expensive your lawyers are, but ours out here are about $800 an hour. So
yeah, here too. That's pretty standard.
It's 10 or 15,000.
Yeah,
pretty easy. So
compliance is the ticket here, obviously, if you want to run a profitable business and stay out of trouble.
Yeah, come up with a plan to follow the rules. It's not easy for us in California to follow the rules, but if you work with a company like mine that has the plan for you, or you are able to formulate your own plan in order to follow the rules, you'll be successful.
I like what you said. Come up with a plan to follow the rules. And that's where somebody like you or a staffing service can come into play and be useful and help people remain compliant, stay out of trouble.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. We've worked with so many industries in our business over the years that their problems are well known to us. Mm-hmm. So you work in a manufacturing facility and it's half a mile long. Well, it takes 8 minutes to walk a half a mile. So if you work in the department in the very back of that manufacturing facility, and you have to walk 7 minutes to the break room to take your lunch, we need to give you a 7-minute head start over the department that's right across the way from the lunchroom.
And a lot of people wouldn't think of that. That's a good point.
Yeah. If you need to dress appropriately for work, if you have to put your hard hat on after the safety meeting, well, your workday starts at the safety meeting. You get paid to listen to be safe. You get paid to put your hard hat on. If you need to walk back to your truck and get your boots, you get paid to walk back to your truck and get your boots, because as soon as you show up, your workday starts.
Well, the smart workers would leave them at home then and say, I have to go back home to get my boots. I'm getting paid. I'm on the clock.
Yeah. Well, it's not quite that bad.
No.
But once we're at the job site, once we're in the building, and we've started something that's required for the job, it's considered compensable time. There's a challenge for industries where you need to work remotely and you need your equipment to go to work. So employees of construction companies or survey companies or trash pickup companies, whatever it is, if you need to arrive at your main warehouse or at your office building to grab the supplies to drive for half an hour or an hour to get to the job, As soon as you stop at your main office building and pick up your shovel, that's compensable time.
Yeah.
I need to pay you. I need to ensure my customers understand that that 8-hour workday with a 1-hour commute, that's going to cost you. You're going to have a 6-hour workday and a 1-hour commute that's paid back and forth. Quick solution: get a Connex box and put all the stuff on the job site. Then the work starts at the job site. So you work with us, we have a lot of solutions like that as well.
That's really valuable. Yeah, I can see now what you're talking about. So going down the list, background checks, they're not as simple in California as where I am.
Yeah, people with criminal backgrounds in California are nearly a protected class.
How so?
And we have a few more protected classes than the federal standard. We've expanded that a little bit here. All the same stuff: religion, race, creed, belief, country of origin, all that sort of stuff. But California passed a law several years ago where we're not allowed to hold past criminal convictions against people if they've happened more than 7 years ago. The main reason companies want to do background checks, there's always the thought of safety, but there's a lot of pressure from insurance companies to background check in California. In fact, they'll offer discounts. So you'll have a discount of a point or two, well, more like half a point, but you'll have a minor discount on your premium and on your rates that you pay every month for your liability insurance and sometimes even workers' compensation. But California passed the law. It's known as the don't check the box law. We're not allowed to ask ahead of time before hiring somebody if they have a criminal background check or if they have a criminal background. And then after that, unless we have a special dispensation, right? If we're going to send kindergarten teachers out to work, well, we can do a little more thorough background check to protect 5-year-olds. Or if we're going to work on federal contracts, the federal government gets a little more leeway.
That makes
for
sense.
entering a military base, for example. But barring that, any standard civilian business, we can only look back 7 years, and we need to look back with a plan. We cannot say that we're going to do a criminal background check, and if we don't think you're bad enough, you can work with us. If we think you're too bad, you can't. It's too vague in California. We build what's called a matrix and tell people that now that we've hired you, we're going to run this background check on you that's required. And the required background check is going to exclude anybody with a certain type of felony, misdemeanor that is considered violent, a DUI arrest that is, or a DUI conviction that is including an injury. So a felony DUI in California, we can specifically list these things that we will then exclude. And if they show on your background, you're not eligible for this position. Companies, unfortunately, trying to do the right thing, trying to comply with their insurance requirements, trying to have a safe environment for the people working there, right? One, are restricted because they can't look more than 7 years ago. So if you did something really bad, you went to prison longer than 7 years. That doesn't show up on your background check. And two, if you're not compliant with the way the background check needs to go through, you can be sued in a very similar manner with what we've seen, similar results, to somebody who would discriminate against a pregnant woman, to somebody that would say, you can't work for me because you're Jewish. Just the most ridiculous things that people have said in the past for classes of people that need to be protected. You just can't say that stuff, right?
Right.
But now we'll get in trouble nearly equally for saying, hey, we don't want to work with you because you robbed a bank.
You know, Bryan, I actually have said many times, you couldn't pay me enough to run a branch, run an office in California or Illinois for that matter, but definitely California. Yeah. But what you're talking about is just what's really nice is that you've taken a negative, something that is a hot button issue, which is how do we manage and stay compliant, and you created value by ensuring that you can help companies do that. And I think that's amazing. So one more thing I wanted to ask you is, and we're running a little short on time, but so quickly if you can, biometrics. When I put a time card system up in a warehouse, a lot of times you can use your fingerprint for that. What is your policy with biometrics in California?
So the rules in biometrics now in California are starting to become defined. The last at least 6 or 7 years, it's been very unclear. And companies like ours that sometimes use biometrics, thumbprints, iris scanners, those types of timekeeping devices, right, or security devices, now are charged with protecting that information. We're lucky in that we're in California. We know what's going to happen. So as those devices became more and more popular, we began using secure systems to store the data. The devices that we use from our office, and got 30, 40 people working for a customer, and they don't want to sign old school paper timesheets anymore. Somebody doesn't want to keep track on a spreadsheet. We'll get a digital time clock. You want security with that time clock, use a thumbprint. We store that data off-site in a secure server that even I don't have access to. And it's been that way for years now. So it's one of those laws that's interesting. I don't want my thumbprints out there for anybody to use. It's focused on thumbprints and iris scans. It's also focused on DNA. There are companies that deal with toxic chemicals that for safety reasons need to have your DNA. And if they were to release that, imagine everything you could possibly know about a person physically is in their DNA.
That's scary.
Yeah. Luckily, businesses that we work with for digital timekeeping, because a lot of that is outsourced, they've been compliant almost since the beginning of their ability to use biometrics for digital timekeeping. It's very interesting how the new technology does not need to catch up with the new laws. The new laws are catching up with the new technology.
Very interesting. Yeah. Well, Bryan, you're so full of information that we've actually run out of time. And I could go on. I mean, you've got a lot more to say about this. I know you do. You know? But what we should do is get you back on the show sometime. I'd love for you to come back on and we can talk about other stuff, other problems that you've solved, with your magic wand, the Wizard of Vallejo. I do want to thank you. I love you, man. You're one of my favorite people. And I really appreciate you coming on. It was very insightful.
Awesome, Collins. Thank you so much for having me, man. This is such a great opportunity to put the word out. I really enjoy it, and this is my very first podcast. I've never done this before, so
it's one of about 500. You'll be back. All right. Thanks, Bryan.
All right, man.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that's the show. Wasn't it a great show? Bryan's awesome. I love that guy. He's my favorite. Anyway, Bryan Slembrouck, by the way. So next week you're going to want to tune in Tuesday at 10 because we have a fantastic guest named Elizabeth Kaiser. And she's got a show called Straight Lines. It's on News Talk Radio on Sundays. She'll talk about that. But we're going to be talking about AI and how it affects the job market. So tune in for that. Make sure you stay tuned right now, though, for the job of the week. And then we'll see you next week. Take care.
Hire away with Collins Harlan.